All right, that moves us to 3.3 Capital Improvement Program for fiscal year 2018-19.
Well, thank you. As you guys in the past have done general plan consistency, tonight's not the approval of a budget. It's really more listing the projects that staff foresees coming forward and being our priority over the next 5 years. And so we're identifying the general plan items that associate with these projects. I think the best place to go is two places. Table 1 is a scope of the capital projects, and what we've done different this year is we're finally ahead of the curve, right? So we've been spending the last couple of years catching up with the prior administration and all the projects that were out there on the books, getting all the grant funds trued up, getting the timing together and completing those projects. So we were very busy this last year and completed quite a few projects, and I'm currently now closing the books on many of those. So what we're trying to do now is get projects listed more in categories: transportation, drainage, parks, trails, as being our primary categories. Exhibit 1 of your staff report really lists those projects that we believe are our highest priority. I'd like to walk you through just in general, and then if there's specifics of any other projects, please feel free to ask and I will walk you through those. Transportation, Bundy Canyon Road widening has been where we've been spending most of our emphasis. We're close. We're chasing down the last few construction dollars, but what that project does is widen Bundy Canyon. It straightens Bundy Canyon vertically and horizontally from the I-15 to Sunset. Staff is also working with Menifee to nudge them along to be more in line with our schedule. I've got another follow-up meeting with them, and they believe that they're going to be able to expedite, and that would be great for the region and the community to complete the project at I-215. Clinton Keith Road widening, that project has been designed 100%. It's about a $7.5 million project. We have about $3.6 million. What we're looking to do right now, though, is potentially rescope that project so that we still provide the 4 lanes of capacity, and then we put the burden of all the sidewalk, parkway strips, and the other amenities and keep those with the local land development. We'll be studying that over the next quarter to see if potentially we can get the 4 lanes built sooner than later and use the eligible regional funds for that. Palomar widening. This is a project that we also picked up from years and years ago. We took it to 65% design, primarily because there's a lot of spot development up and down Palomar Road. We wanted to give at least some control horizontally and vertically, so they knew what the city's expectations were, that we would have some level of consistency with our trails and with our alignment geometrically. So we've done that, and we've been implementing that with the various projects coming forward. That being said, we're going to be proposing to the council here for the next year is to look at phasing the project. And we think that one of the areas we need to improve that will have the heaviest traffic volume is the intersection of Clinton Keith and Palomar. We've got improvements that go down to, I think it's called Shadow Mountain, which is just a little bit north of Clinton Keith. And so what we'd like to do is phase a project where we start at that area and then we work down south, and we tie our improvements in with a couple other developments that are already conditioned, and so we get that complete sooner than later. The next thing that we will start is, and this is a long lead item, but it's the Bundy Canyon Interchange. We've improved Clinton Keith. We think the next one that we need to put emphasis on before it becomes a problem is the Bundy Canyon Interchange, and we start that with a project study report. So we'll be seeking funds for that here in the next year to start the project study report. And that's a whole process. You go through Caltrans, and it takes many years to do that, but we'd like to get started on that soon. The next group of projects is signals, and all 4 of those signals are associated with the Bundy Canyon Road widening project. And so when that project moves forward, that project will also be installing the traffic signals. The next grouping is maintenance. These are all the categories you've seen before, but we're identifying them. I'll be having budget items for them, similar to what we have done in prior years. Under drainage, we've listed 3. The Willamar Channel, McVicker Crossing, we know that that's very important to our community. We've been working with a couple developments. We feel the burden's on Riverside County Flood Control and those developments to fund and to do that improvement. We're listing it in the capital improvement program so that the development impact fees that we have set aside and identified for this project would be able to flow over to those developers to help them offset their cost. Line C in Monte Vista, and we have so many drainage problems, but Line C probably runs the longest stretch. And it starts up towards Bundy and it runs all the way down. All the localized flooding we have on Central and Front Street as it gets to the Murrieta Creek is all associated with that Line C. This last year we completed one of its laterals, Line C1, off by Refa Street, and that's on Palomar, just a little bit north of McVicker. We completed that project using Riverside County Flood Control funds. But we're now working with Flood Control on Line C in the Monte Vista Basin. If you recall, 2 years back, there was supposed to be 127 townhomes going in on that corner of Monte Vista and Bundy. We persuaded Riverside County Flood Control to buy the property from Rancon, and that's now going to be a 20-acre basin. We're hoping to also work in a cooperative agreement to get some other amenities like sports fields and the like. They're in the environmental review process, and we're also reviewing their design of that open channel will become a box culvert. So that's in the preliminary design. And then the last drainage project, Line F, that will be included and built with the Bundy Canyon Road widening project. What is that? Well, if you come off of Sellers and on the north side of the road, there's an open ditch, and then it kind of stops about Cherry. That area has had historic localized flooding. What this project does is actually connect the pipe from Sellers and connects it to a pipe that's right by the freeway on-ramp, and that will help us with that localized flooding problem. Parks is the next category. We have 2. One was approved recently at the City Council. Is an 11-acre park at Grand and Leslie. That's right next to David A. Brown Middle School. And then the 27-acre park is up at La Estrella and Peggy Lane next to Ronald Reagan. We're going through community workshops right now. We've had 2. We've had a couple pop-ups. We've received a lot of good input on the types of amenities folks would like at these parks. And so we're going to take this opportunity before we go to our next 3rd community workshop is to also incorporate the 11 acres and see if some of those amenities fall over and see if that input from the community supports some development on that 11 acres as well. The last project listed is trails. We're just about done with the Grand Avenue project. We're real proud of that. We know that there was a lot of heartache for owners, the 200 or so residents along there who had to deal with our construction and the changing of their front yard a little bit. But I think now that it's complete, I think it's a good attribute for the community. I'm seeing that it's being well used. It runs the full length of our city limits. But the other just as important trail is the Murrieta Creek, and in our prior folks here in the city have helped get that one side opened up. We've been working with Flood Control to get the east side opened up. They're not opposed to it in concept, but what we're having a tough time doing is getting them to agree to the kind of gates that we want to put on that side, that are different than the ones on the other side, and we're working through that. And that's really where that project is. So those are all the projects that I have listed. I'd be more than happy to talk in particulars of any of them of interest that you have, and that completes my presentation.
Do we have any public speakers?
Any nays? in the city lists of Murrieta Trail gates and signage when a property is under the control of County of Riverside Parks and Recreation. As far as I know, the city has refused to pay the fees necessary to transfer the rights to the trail. On that same line, the trail above Windstone Ranch, also controlled by county parks, if we obtained that, it would eliminate a large gap in the current Grand Avenue multi-use trail between Gruel and Pasadena. On the Grand Avenue trail, when is the city going to get around to changing the designation of Grand Avenue? Right now, it's listed as a secondary highway, which has a 45 to 50 mile an hour speed limit. And to change that to a collector road would drop that down to 35 miles an hour. Are we going to wait for somebody to die in these bike lanes, which people right now are using as a second lane? If you drive down Grand Avenue coming off of Clinton Keith, you'll have people trying to pass you to the right because they see a nice brand new lane. That's all I got to say.
Joseph Morabito.
Good evening. Just a couple of questions for the status of Bundy Canyon. What happens if SB 1 gets overturned? And that would go for any of the projects in town, actually. And then, sort of based on that, is also, so how far behind is Scott Road from us? So, if those can be answered.
Mr. Gary Andre.
You know, one thing I think is really important on Bundy Canyon is that bridge be done at the widening of the road. Because over in Murrieta, they didn't do Cal Oaks at that time and that widened out. Then they had all the traffic coming and that was backed up for a long time. Same thing over in Temecula, several areas. So I think that's really important we get the two hooked together on that. Issue on the trails, Dan. The trail right now ends, thank you very much for getting the job done. The trail ends at Corydon, but the city continues 2 streets north of Corydon, and it doesn't go there. So I want to know if we can complete that. Also, I finished, I drew up a map on, Gary Norquist asked me to draw up changes on the trail map, trails we can remove, trails we don't need, things which I did do, things that need to be done to straighten trails out when they're more in line. Instead, the county had me where they jump back and forth this way and that way, and now I've got a lot of them more on the straight thing, so we need to set up a meeting for that. And I'm just looking forward to it. The only concern is the amount of traffic that's going to come from the east to west on Bundy Canyon once that's widened. It's going to be pretty heavy. You can go down to Winchester now and look at that thing. I go see a doctor on Marguerite and the traffic's backed up miles heading east. And it's really bad. It takes about 15 minutes from Marguerite to just get on the freeway. Well, you know, it is an issue, so thank you.
Thank you.
That is all, Chair.
Any response from staff?
Sure, I'd be more than happy to respond. So regarding the existing trails, the trails are actually owned by Riverside County Flood Control. And the trail on the westerly side, the Board of Supervisors has established a cooperative agreement to use their service roads for trails, but it is through a cooperative agreement. County Parks does hold that on the west side. Part of this effort with the county is to draft a new agreement, and the new cooperative agreement would take county parks out of the west side, and it would put the city of Wildomar in for the west side and the east side. And so that's how that would work. We wouldn't be in control of it. There still would be responsibilities from flood control, and there would be responsibilities of the city. but it would all operate under a cooperative agreement. At such time that that agreement is available, it will be brought forward to the city council and for public input. There was a comment or question about Bundy Canyon, and primarily how is that project impacted by that Senate Bill 1, which is a road RMRA funds. The city did put in an application for CTC for Bundy Canyon funding. We were not shortlisted for that. However, we believe that Riverside County Transportation Commission and the County of Riverside do have discretionary local SB1 funds that aren't competitive funds that could be available for this project as well. We pursued that and we will continue to pursue it. If SB1 is overturned, that would be a fund source that we wouldn't be able to chase to be able to close the funding gap. And we're continuing to look at other grants. We'll be submitting a grant here at the end of July for active transportation. We're going to be using WRCOG's consultant. They'll be paying for that consultant. And they're professional grant writers, which I think will be very helpful. I've already met with them on numerous occasions. And we think that the whole active transportation piece will be eligible probably in around the $3 million range to offset some of the costs for the project. There was a question as to how far behind the Scott Road improvements are. Well, right now we're definitely ahead of them when it comes to the design. We're probably a good year and a half ahead of them. However, their alignment is very simple compared to ours. It's a straight shot and it's flat. The right-of-way takes and the amount of grading that they have is nowhere near as complicated as ours has been, nor is the number of environmental impacts that they have to avoid. The reason why they deferred the design on the Scott Road piece was because they needed to get the interchange complete, and they're well on their way with that. That project has been design approved and will be under construction. So they're now ready to move forward. I think they can move quickly and be close to us in 2019, if not early 2020. So that would put them at worst 6 months behind us as far as completing their section. There was comments on the bridge at Bundy Canyon. If you look at our project Bundy Canyon I-15 Interchange Project Study Report, that report would address the bridge and the widening of that and what that would mean for the through lane underneath, and also to provide pedestrian access for our high school kids who come back and forth there. So that was a really good comment that will be studied under that project study report. Comment about the trails ending at Corridon. Yes, that is correct. There has been another national park study that studies the rest of that on up through Lakeland as part of the Butterfield Stage Trail. I don't know the status of where that is. The city hasn't been at the table on that, but this trail would then connect to that. Just going another 2 blocks or even another mile doesn't really complete it. It's that Butterfield Stage all the way through Lakeland Village and on up around through the lake that needs to be completed. So it would be completed at that time with that project. Staff is aware that Mr. Andre has been working on the trail map that he initiated years ago and that we still use for reference, the Adopt a Trail program, and we think that he's done some work and we'll be setting up a meeting with him shortly to discuss that. And I think I addressed everybody's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission discussion.
I just want to say thank you. The Grand Avenue project and that trail and everything that's done has done great improvements for Grand Avenue and all the homeowners. I know it was really tough for you. I know you went through a lot to get that done, but I just want you to know that I really think that that really has helped the city of Wildomar and provide that trail. It is a lot safer. I see the children walking back and forth to school, and I do feel like it's a lot safer for them than what they were walking along on Grand Avenue. So thank you for getting that done.
I did miss one. I'm sorry if I could have just one more. The comment about Grand Avenue being a secondary highway, that is correct. Our circulation element has Grand Avenue identified as a 4-lane arterial. We do have a section right now between Tranquil and Sheila that's still striped as 4 lanes. That will be restriped. And we will have 2 lanes striped from Corridon to Clinton Keith. So even though the circulation element has not been formally changed, the council has supported the restriping of this road. As far as speeds, we currently have got a variety of regulatory speeds up and down that road. I cannot physically change those until I do a speed survey. With every project, you can't do a speed survey until several months after traffic has normalized to the new striping. And so we're close. I think in the next week or two, all the striping will go down. We'll be monitoring the traffic flows and how they are adjusting to, you know, the bike lanes and the trails and all of that, and just 1 lane of traffic. At which time that we will probably September-ish, likely is what I've sent out to my traffic team is September is the target to go out and do the speed surveys, the 85th percentile, and then we'll be bringing that forward to City Council to post what the regulatory speed will be in that area.
That's good news. I just want to say one thing about the property next to David A. Brown.
Yes.
15 years ago, I met with Mr. Tunstall several times, and it was his dream that that be a park. And it really makes me happy to know that that's exactly what's happening. Thank you very much. All right. I get a motion to adopt PC Resolution 2018-14.
I give you the motion to adopt PC 2018-14.
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Chairman White,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Thomas,
Aye.
Commissioner Strong,
Aye.
Commissioner Langworthy.
Aye.
Resolution passes 4-0.